Hello, everyone, and welcome to News Talk. I am Chris Ano. Thanks for tuning in. As usual, I'd like to welcome all of you who are joining in from continental Africa by way of satellite, and all of you tuning in by way of social media, YouTube, Roku, Facebook, and so on, joining from across the globe and talking about continental Europe, the USA, including Canada. South America, everywhere where you are tuned in from. It is exciting to be back with you tonight. I come to you with one subject tonight, the question of the trial of common law citizens and civil law jurisdiction. And that matter is being raised by the one and only Abdul Karim Ali, who has been incarcerated now going to 2 years without trial. And every time they tried trying him, he was taken to the military tribunal in La République du Cameroon, and so has been with other prisoners of conscience held in that country. I'm talking about Amazonian, Southern Cameroon citizens. That is going to be the main topic of my discussion tonight. I will be joined by 2 good comrades who are very analytical, and they're going to tell you the decision by Abdul Karim has been the right thing to do. Please, as usual, hit your share button, and if for any reason Facebook should shut you down, join YouTube. We've been having lots of issues with Facebook. We were shut down a few minutes ago. We came back up. We hope that it stays. But just in case you are shut down, flip over to YouTube. Please hit your share button. I'll be right back.
ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricatv@gmail.com. ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricatv@gmail.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for staying put in there. Before I take you into the subject of the broadcast tonight, I just like to remind all of you out there about the Meet the People's Tour, or the State of the World Tour that we are programmed to carry out beginning tomorrow. has been a little much adjusted because of an unforeseen circumstance that took place in the DMV area, talking about Baltimore, Maryland, Virginia area. And so the meeting, the first tour that was supposed to be taking place there tomorrow, Saturday, is being postponed. We will bring you information about the new schedule. In the meantime, if you are in Chicago, in California, in Indiana, in Boston, in Toronto, in Montreal, in Houston, wherever you may be, also, of course, Minnesota, Ohio, if you are in any of these cities, including Georgia, and those I may have forgotten, please know that I am coming to your city. And some of you who live in the city, I would like to speak to you to see what role you can play in the organizing and helping, facilitating these tours. So I would like you to send me a message and say, hey, Comrade Chris, I am in Atlanta, or Joe, in Atlanta. I am in Ohio. I am in Chicago. I am in California. I am in Boston. I am in wherever that you are, Indiana, and you want us to be in your city, please send the message. Please send me the message, and we will make sure that we plan to be in your city. Again, these tours will be taking us to Maryland, the DMV area. Will be taking us to the Mid-Atlantic area, the axis between Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, and New York. Then we expect Boston to cover the axis, including Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts itself, and New Hampshire. And then we're going to be going also to Chicago. We have lots of amber in Chicago. We will be going also to Ohio, where I know the amber population there is huge. And I mean literally huge. I think after the DMV area, the place with the most population of Amazonia after the DMV area is Ohio. I think so. I may be mistaken. But I know that Minnesota also has a huge population of Amazonians. So we look forward to seeing you when we do the rounds and we come to your city. Please do me the favor, go ahead and hit your share button. Let us quickly populate the platform so that I can come to you with this subject. Again, I have just one main subject to bring to you today for discussion. And so I would like you to hit the share button as you join. Hit your share button. Let us quickly populate the social media platform and get others to join. But again, these tours will be taking place all the way to Europe. We're going to be going to Belgium for Central Europe. That includes Belgium, Germany, and the rest of the countries around there. Then we will go to the Scandinavian countries. That include Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland. All these, we're going to be doing a joint conference, a joint tour with the Scandinavians, AMBAS. Then we will go to the UK, the United Kingdom, for probably a roundup of Europe. So please reach out to us. If you are in any of these places, reach out to us. You can play a very vital role in putting these meetings together. But know that you will be voted. If you reach out to us and we do not know you, you're going to be voted. We want very committed people, very serious people to be involved in this. So, but if you are in London, you are in Finland, Norway, Denmark, Sweden, Belgium, Germany, Italy for Central Europe, please let us know that you are out there and you would love to take part in the preparations towards these tours in Europe. And I would love to come to South Africa too, but we just need some organization. We need some organization on the ground there in Johannesburg or in Cape Town or Pretoria or Limpopo, all these places where you have ambas. South Africa has a huge amber population, and we think that it should be a targeted area for one of these tours. We're going to be bringing you information in the days ahead as we plan these tours. Now, to the 200 Club. To the 200 Club, we are in March. Today is March the 29th. At the beginning of the year, I came to you pleading that I needed 200 Ambazonians. 200 Ambazonians who will say, Comrade Chris, we want to see this conflict carried on and we're empowered, especially talking about the fighters on the ground. And we ask that if you are out there and you truly believe in a free and independent Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, I urged you to join the 200 Club, the club of 200 people each donating $1,000 each. And you were given between January to the end of this month, which is by tomorrow. By tomorrow, to redeem your pledge. Redeem your pledge. And we also asked if you wanted to pay instrumentally, that was okay too. That is why we stretch it from January up to March. Tomorrow will be the last day for all the payments to come in for those who have already indicated their intention to come in. We already have the club running. We have a forum with the club members. Some have paid already, but the number is far lacking. The numbers are far lacking. And so I really want to appeal to you again today. Comrade, you know that being at the head of this interim government and at the head of this struggle, I receive lots and lots and lots of messages from Ambazonians on ground zero. And each time they send those messages, they are all about lamentations. Lamentations of the state of the war. The state of the war. They wish we could do something more rapidly and in a way that La République de Cameroon feels the pinch like our people do. But you know that without money, we are not able to do this. Unfortunately, the funds are not coming in rapidly as we would wish. And we are tired of the idea of taking $500 or $1,000 and sending to a brigade or a team of fighters of 20 or 50 people. You know that can do absolutely nothing. So our strategy now is to make sure that we can furnish every camp at our disposal with at least 10 million francs. At least 10 million francs. That is about $20,000, so that they can better equip themselves. They can better equip themselves and be able to carry out targets strategically. The idea of you think that you kill 3 Ekelebe or 10 Ekelebe, and it's a good thing, but it doesn't leave the kind of impact that we would want on La République du Cameroon. We are in this war now, going to 8 years, you all know that. We have not taken out any of their colonial officials. We have not. Their governors are still there and they live within our territory. And some of them have been desperately wicked upon our people. I'm referring to colonial officials like the guy in Kumbados, in Kumba 2, and the senior divisional officer for the entire county. Of course, we have the same in Bamenda with those colonial mayors, DOs, of course, the governors. Comrades, we have to do something that is devastating. We need actions that are devastating on La République du Cameroon. And so I come to you once more to plead with you. If you have not joined the club, I want to give those of you who have not joined the grace to do so. And for those of you who will join from today, we will give you 2 months. We're not extending anything, but we will give you 2 months to come in and say, Comrade Chris, add me in the club. Add me in the club. I will give you my $1,000. I will give you my $1,000 so that we can carry out action on the ground that impacts La République du Cameroon. I look forward to you sending me the message. Most of you out there have my social media number. You can send me a message on that number, 346-504-3666. 346, that is for the US, that is +1, 346. Even if you are on ground zero, I know there are people on ground zero that can afford $1,000 really easily. They got the money. So the number is +1 346 504 3666. That is the number I normally would put on the screen for phone calls. Please, I am waiting to hear from you. We need that support. We need that money to come in so that we can plan on these things. You know, they have their 20th May just by the door. You know that. Next month, we've got to do something, ladies and gentlemen. We have their elections. They are planning elections all over. I saw a video footage I wanted to bring here of a huge mobilization in Wabane. Wabane is in Libya, and I saw a huge mobilization by CPDM elite from that AGA. They went to the village, they called all the women, gave them a wrapper each, gave them 1,000 francs each, and got the men, gave them 1,000 francs, and they poured out in their numbers, marching and putting on CPDM uniforms, preparing for their elections. Ladies and gentlemen, let me assure everybody in the territory that is called the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. We left La République du Cameroon. We stopped all their elections, be they presidential, legislative, or so-called council. Listen, this one is not going to happen. Let me assure them, this one is not going to happen. Don't take our silence for surrender. Of course, that is not going to be. As they plan, we too, we are planning. This will be a matter of do or die. I'm referring to the so-called La République's elections. And those of you in Ambazonia who think you can walk into our territory and carry out so-called presidential or election campaigns, you are not just blacklegs. You are enemies. And we will come for you first. We will come for you first. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, again, I am appealing to all of you out there who can afford to join the club. The tag is only $1,000, and you can pay in 2 or 3 installments. You can pay in 2 or 3 installments. Don't come to me after the fact. After 20th May and after the elections and say, Comrade Chris, you guys did nothing. I see a lot of people do the talking. They just talk. Experts in ideas, but they never release a dime for the prosecution of the war. Please, if you are all an expert in ideas, don't send me a message. Don't call me. We need your money. Those boys are not fight. They will not fight with their fingers or with their nails. They need to fight with equipment. Please. So if you are an expert in ideas, don't call me. We have lots of them within this interim government. We have the ANSC. We have the military department with professional expertise. Please, we have enough, and we know enough. We know exactly what to do. What we don't have is enough money, and that's all we need here. So please consider joining the 200 Club with your $1,000 and you can pay it instrumentally. Send me the message on +1 346 504. Let me start all over again. It is +1 346 504 3666. And I want to appreciate those of you who have already paid lots of money. I really appreciate you. I'm going to, once we get the new people to join, I'm going to hold a meeting with members of the club in the days ahead to tell them exactly what we are planning on doing. But of course, we're not going to be releasing any classified to you, but it is good to let you know what your money gonna be doing. Again, I am appealing to all of you. I know you can afford this money, especially if you live in the USA. This is a tax season. Some of you are making like 6,000, 5,000, 4,000, 7,000, 8,000. In your tax filings, please consider your suffering people on the ground. Consider their pain. Let's cut short this war by prosecuting it rapidly and freeing our people and moving on with our lives. Please do that. All right, I will be right back, ladies and gentlemen. When I come back, I will come to you with my talking point for tonight. Hit your share button.
Your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at absafricatv@gmail.com. ABS can help you reach your target audience like never before. Advertising on ABS, you'll benefit from our extensive reach and dedicated viewership. We offer special advertising packages during primetime slots and popular shows. You'll also be featured on our social media platforms, reaching an even wider audience. Don't miss out on this opportunity. Take your business to the next level. Contact our advertising team at ABS Africa.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I come to you tonight with my talking point, my monologue on a recent statement that Comrade Abdul Karim put out from the confines of Condé. He is essentially saying to La République du Cameroon, the time and the days you tried us under civil laws are over. In the heart of Cameroon's capital city, Yaoundé, a significant legal storm is brewing as authorities prepare to bring Abdul Karim Ali, an Amazonian prisoner of conscience, before their military tribunal. Abdul Karim has languished without trial for nearly 2 years, repeatedly brought before military judges, only to return to the confines of the Condé cell, where he has been unjustly held. This time, as the date for his next court appearance remains unknown, Abdul Karim is spearheading a bold stand from behind bars, challenging, ladies and gentlemen, the very foundation of the legal proceedings that have kept him in captivity. In a recent 2-page document characterized by defiance and eloquence, Abdul Karim articulates his resolute refusal to cooperate with the Cameroon Military Tribunal he raises profound questions about the jurisdiction under which citizens of the common law are being tried in a civil law system, questioning the legitimacy of such proceedings within the context of Cameroon's authority over the southern Cameroons and Amazonia. Abdul Karim asserts that participation in the legal processes of La République du Cameroun inadvertently lends credence to the assertion of sovereignty over the southern Cameroon's state, a narrative that directly contradicts the principles of self-determination, he says. Abdul Karim argues that compliance with the directives of the civil law judicial apparatus in Cameroon effectively sanctioned the imposition of severe prison sentences by colonial military courts, constituting a blatant violation of fundamental human rights, norms of justice, and international law standards. He condemns the prevailing system for its role in suppressing dissent, thwarting the aspirations of the southern Cameroon's state through arbitrary detention, torture, and extrajudicial measures. Abdul Karim boldly declares that the judicial system of La République du Cameroun serves as a tool of state oppression, seeking to coerce southern Cameroonians and Amazonians into participating in a sentencing process that undermines their interests. Highlighting the biased nature of the military judicial apparatus, Abdul Karim denounces it as an extension of the invading army, perpetuating atrocities within a framework dominated by French influence that subverts the pursuit of justice. Rather than subjecting himself to a system inherently prejudiced against the southern Cameroons, Abdul vows to abstain from appearing before the compromise court and instead issue a comprehensive public statement through his legal representatives that he has promised. This statement, he explains, will outline a new approach to the treatment of subsequent prisoners of conscience, emphasizing the imperative of non-cooperation with unjust legal processes. Abdul Karim views his case as a pivotal moment for the southern Cameroons, setting a precedent for unwavering defense against the legitimization of La République du Cameroun's jurisdiction over the people of the southern Cameroons and Amazonia. He plans to submit arguments supporting his decision to various entities, including the Military Tribunal of Yaoundé, the Presidency of La République du Cameroon, the Prime Ministry in Yaoundé, the Ecumenical Community of the Cameroons, the diplomatic community, the international community, and the people of the southern Cameroons and Amazonia. Abdul Karim's stand resonates deeply with the fundamental principles of justice, self-determination, and human rights. His refusal to participate in a legal system that he views as fundamentally unjust and oppressive is a powerful assertion of his dignity and rights as a citizen of the southern Cameroons and Amazonia. By challenging the authority of the civil law jurisdiction over common law citizens. Abdul Karim is not only defending his own rights, but also taking a stand against the historical injustices that have fueled the ongoing conflict between Cameroon and Ambazonia. It is indeed logical to question the validity of trying Southern Cameroonians under a legal system that they do not recognize or identify with. The imposition of the civil law system on the Southern Cameroons has long been a point of contention, leading to grievances and ultimately contributing to the current conflict. Abdul Karim's assertion that civil law has no jurisdiction over common law citizens is not only legally sound, but also ethically compelling. All prisoners within the confines of La République du Cameroun, La République du Cameroun's prisons, ladies and gentlemen, should consider adopting a similar stance, shedding light on the injustices inherent in the legal system and demanding a fair and impartial trial under a framework that respects their rights and identity. Abdul Karim's courageous stance against the illegitimate legal proceedings that have kept him detained symbolizes a broader struggle for justice, for freedom, and for self-determination in the Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia. His refusal to cooperate with a system that he deems oppressive and biased serves as a beacon of hope for all those who seek dignity and rights in the face of adversity. It is therefore imperative that the international community, the human rights community or organizations, and all advocates for justice stand in solidarity with Abdul Karim and all prisoners of conscience in the Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia, amplifying their voices and demanding accountability for the injustices they have endured all this while. Only through collective action and unwavering commitment to the principles of justice and human rights can we hope to bring about a future where all individuals are treated with dignity, with respect, and fairness under the law. And that is my talking point, ladies and gentlemen. I am being joined now by Comrade Mark Chaps, who is joining me all the way from Canada. And of course, I'm also being joined by Comrade Mas Tanji, who is joining me from Florida. Mike, let me start with you, sir. It's a great opportunity to have you here again, sir. I think your microphone is muted.
Right. Comrade Chris, thank you for having me again. Glad to be with you.
Thank you. And you happen to be a barrister at law here, and so you are going to rightly divide the assertions of Abdul Karim, who is saying it is a wrong thing for you to have a common law citizen under the jurisdiction of civil law for trial. But let me get to, before we get there, let me get to Comrade Mark. Mars, good to have you, sir.
Oh, thank you, Comrade Chris, for having me and being on the panel with Comrade Mark. So it will be, today we look forward to it being a great day. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Comrade Chaps, let me start with you. You are a legal man, you are a lawyer. And when you know the difference between civil and common law, you live in Canada where they practice both laws there, I believe. Montreal practices civil law, and the rest of Canada practices common law. Am I correct? If I'm correct, can you briefly differentiate between the two legal systems, civil law and common law, please?
Yes, Comrade Chris, that's right. So, without going into a lot of legality, in simple terms, in Canada, let me use that example because you provided it. So, Canada is a federal system, right? We do have the province of Quebec that has is largely governed by civil process or civil law, but in terms of because of our federal system, in terms of criminal law, because criminal law should apply equally across the entire territory. It is common law. So criminal law is the same. It applies the same in Quebec as it applies the same in, say Alberta, which is, within the common law jurisdiction, as you would say. So there are certain civil matters and other matters that proceed under the civil jurisdiction because that is largely what Quebec is. And for the rest of Canada, it would largely be common law procedures as well as other statutory laws, depending on what issue you're talking about. But for the question that you asked, common law is, essentially in the common law system. Well, let me start by saying this. Normally, in any country that is subject to the rule of law, everybody is equal before the law. That's the starting point. Within the common law system, if we're talking specifically about criminal matters, you're talking about a system that has a mantra that says you're innocent until proven guilty. So whether charges have been brought against you for an offense or not, until those matters are tested in court and you're actually convicted, you are an innocent person until that guilty verdict comes down. And with that designation comes a bunch of rights that apply even to the person who has been accused of an offense. So you have the right to be tried in the jurisdiction where the offense actually occurred. If a different jurisdiction is required, so if the Crown or the state wants a change of venue, they have to actually make an application to the court. And you, as the accused person, have a right to respond to that application. They have to ask for another venue and they have to outline why they are asking for another venue. And those reasons have to be substantiated by law, right? And then the accused has the right to respond to that. And it is only then that the court can determine whether they can change the venue of that trial or not. But normally, within the common law, the trial should happen in the location or the jurisdiction where the alleged offense happened. Then there's another aspect. In common laws, we have a judge who can hear the matter. Depending on the level of court, you are entitled to a jury trial for the most serious of offenses, right? So unlike in the civil law system where you have a magistrate, where the magistrate almost does the fact finding and then, renders a judgment, in the civil law tradition, in the common law tradition, you have the state that brings the case before the court, and then the accused is entitled to a defense. So you have a defense counsel, a defense lawyer, and the common law tradition is adversarial in the sense that the state presents its case and the state needs to meet the elements of the offense that you are charged with. They have to prove each element of that offense in specific, and then broadly they have to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. And so there is a standard of how you assess beyond a reasonable doubt, and your lawyer has the right to provide the most vigorous defense of the alleged offenses that you are charged with. And at the end of the day, a judge decides, or if it is a judge and jury trial, the judge provides instructions to the jury about what needs to be considered in determining the outcome of the case, and then the jury renders a verdict. Now, there are other things that I'll just touch on. Whereas in the civil law matter, the matter is held by, it's a magistrate court. The magistrate, the civil law magistrate, does the investigative process themselves, and then they make a determination about, the outcome of the case. Now, you also have defense counsels in that same scenario, and they can make submissions on your behalf as to your innocence. But again, as opposed to the common law where the judge doesn't know the facts of the case, the facts of the case are as presented in court by the state. In a civil law tradition, mostly, the magistrate is somehow involved in understanding, the origins of the case and the offenses that are brought against you. And in some cases, they are actually involved in the investigative function. Whereas in the common law, the police do an investigation, they lay the charges, sometimes they consult with the state or with the crown attorney or the prosecutor for advice on what kind of charges should be laid, depending on what the nature of the offense is. In the civil law tradition, that magistrate who's going to preside over that hearing actually is involved directly with that investigative process. So those are just some of the differences. And, I know we're speaking broadly, but that's why I wanted to narrow it down to common law, because it's a little bit easier to criminal law, because it's a little bit easier to sort of explain there. The other thing that's important that would surely come up in a conversation is the availability of bail. In common law traditions, because you're innocent until proven guilty, you have a right to seek bail. You have a right to be released pending your trial. Now, there are a lot of considerations that go into how that release is determined, but that is a right. That is an entitlement. You can seek bail at any time, and the court should have a hearing about whether you should be released or not. And there are also disclosure obligations. So in the common law scenario, if a case is brought against you, you are entitled to receive all of the investigative materials that the police reviewed before laying those charges. What led to them determining that they had to bring charges? You are entitled as an accused person to be provided with those materials so that you can provide a full and wholesome answer to the court on those charges and in defense of yourself. So those disclosure obligations are very, very strong in the common law tradition.
Now, we have a situation in Cameroon. Let me play the devil's advocate here, that we are one and indivisible with Cameroon as they want us to believe. However, with two legal systems, the common law and the civil law, which were very articulately elaborated on what they are. But you have a situation where citizens belonging to the common law jurisdiction, they are picked up and taken over to a civil law jurisdiction and to a military tribunal in that case. Tell me, where is the place of the military tribunal within the common law and even the civil law? Let us know, please.
Yes, it is quite bizarre, to say the least, that we're experiencing that type of a system. I mean, in any law-abiding country or that subjects itself to the rule of law, even in a federation like Canada, where I have just said, if you were charged with an offense in Alberta, you don't just automatically, because the state wants that, takes you to Montreal to try you for that offense. They don't do that. And that is largely because Canada is a law-abiding country and they are subject to the rule of law and they actually respect it. Whereas that is not the case in Cameroon. So that is just the starting point. But the other point about it is that in a country that has a dual, because that's what we call it, it has a bijural legal system or a dual legal system. If the country was properly governed, they would have put in place the infrastructure to ensure that each jurisdiction has sufficient resources to be able to try any case that arises in that jurisdiction. And of course, in countries where there are dual legal systems, in Canada, we even have three. We have common law, we have civil law, we also have indigenous law, right? So, so,
Yeah.
so we have to navigate all of those three depending on who the defendant is and what it is that they are being charged with or they are being tried for. And so the same kinds of things should apply in Cameroon, where, if you're a citizen from a common law jurisdictions, you should be tried under the common law because that is the law that is the law you subscribe to, and that is the system that affords, the best protections for you, and that you should be able to navigate a system that you actually understand. It is, there's something called trial fairness, and the justice system should be inherently fair, and that is why common law starts by saying you are innocent until you are proven guilty. So that translates down into that fairness. So how fair is it if you are taken out of the system that you are familiar with, that you understand? How are you able then to provide a full and wholesome defense in a system that is alien to you?
Wonderful. I will get back to you. Let me get to Comrade Mars out there. When Sissoko and others, they were first taken to Yaoundé and dragged to this same military tribunal, the first sentence that rang from that court from them was, "We are citizens of the southern Cameroon. We are citizens of Ambazonia, and so this court has no jurisdiction over us." Abdul Karim is essentially saying the same thing. In spite of that defiance by Sissoko and others, that same military court went ahead to give them life sentences. Where do we see Abdul Karim heading to with this? Is there any way, any chance on earth that the regime in Yaoundé will defy the shame and go ahead and give him, send him back? Because he is essentially saying, I am a Queen's, an Ambazonian citizen. You want to try me? Number one, you don't have a government over me. Number two, you cannot try me in your territory. If I should be tried in Boya, in Bamenda, or somewhere within Ambazonia. Do you see that going anywhere, Comrade Mars?
Thank you, Comrade Chris, for that point. The thing is that I don't think Abdul Karim is talking or writing to La République. He's writing to the international community and the world at large. The simple difference between, as our comrade Mark has put it, is with common law, you are innocent, and the accuser is the one. The burden of proof is on the accuser. The accuser needs to prove that you who is being accused, you are guilty of your crime. Whereas in this in the civil law, it is when you are accused, you are automatically guilty, and the burden of proof is on you to prove that you are innocent. And there's a big difference between those two. Abdul Karim, he's saying he's an Ambazonian, and he was charged for a crime that was supposedly to have happened in Ambazonia. And in Ambazonia, we follow common law, not civil law. We follow common law. Go and try me in the common law. The world at large see what is happening here. You cannot take somebody from the common law area and go and be trying them under civil law because the burden of proof changes hands. Who is supposed to prove either innocent or guilty? I, as Abdul Karim, I've been locked here. I've not been given a chance to find the evidence or the proof that gather my information to prove that I am innocent. The people who've accused me, one, they've stopped me from proving that I'm innocent, from gathering the information to prove that I'm innocent, and they're not willing to even prove that I'm guilty. Just because I'm in that system, I automatically become guilty. And I cannot prove while being locked in here that I'm innocent. So if they want to try him, they should give him the opportunity to defend himself and tell him what charges and what evidence they have against him so that he can challenge them. You cannot lock somebody up and say you're guilty, but while you're locked up, prove that you're innocent. No, it cannot work like that. That's why those two systems, they're almost incompatible. They're almost incompatible. And our lawyer here, Mark, has explained some of the technicalities, but put it in simple terms, is who has the burden of proof? Is it the accused or the accuser? Is it Abdul Karim who has the burden of proof, or is it La Republique who is claiming that he's guilty, he's committed a crime? Who has the burden of proof? And until that is resolved, he cannot be tried. And I think his stand is correct. He should not be tried until that is resolved. Who has the burden of proof? If La Republique has the burden of proof, La Republique should bring all the evidence. If he has the burden of proof, La Republique should let him go out and bring all the justifications that he has to defend himself. He cannot be locked up.
I will ask this question to both of you to give me your take on it. Cameroon agrees it has two legal systems. That is, going to their claim that they own the southern Cameroons, and they have claimed for years it practices a two-legal system. Now, why should they not then listen to Abdul Karim? Shouldn't they be listening to Abdul Karim and proving that, yeah, this is a system where justice indeed exists? What's your take on that?
If first, Abdul Karim being an ambassador has been taken to La Republique, which means taken from one country to another, if we even first of all assume that they have a treaty with ambassador which allows them to do such a thing, then that's fine. That's the first phase. The second phase is, while they've taken that ambassador citizen to their dungeon, they should give him the opportunity to gather evidence to prove that he is innocent, because now the burden of proof has been turned towards him. He has proved that he is innocent. And you cannot be locked up and they tell you to prove that you are innocent. Where do you get your witnesses from? How do you contact your witnesses? How do you communicate with your lawyer without interference? All those things. The charges that have been brought to or that he's supposedly to have committed, they haven't even told him. They haven't written them down, and how they got the evidence. He needs to know so that he can challenge them. So, Comrade Chris, to your question, yes, they need to listen to him, but they need to give him the opportunity to gather his information to bring to the court and explain himself.
Well, this is a fundamental question that should determine whether he should even be tried at all, right, chaps? Because if Cameroon says it has a bicameral legal system, the first thing they should want to do is follow due procedure or protocol by saying, okay, this guy has challenged his presence in a military court or a court in a civil territory. We should send him back to his territory, and then from there he can begin to challenge under the common law why he should be in the court in the first place, isn't it?
Yeah. So let me just take it from the start there. So again, like we said, if the country is really a country that abides by the cardinal or the canon of the rule of law, which says everybody is equal before the law, right? That is the governing principle that flows down through all the processes. You talked about there is procedural fairness, right? So there is procedural fairness. There is also substantive fairness. All of that going towards due process. That is why it's called due process, because there is a fairness that is entrenched within the process, because you know that it is a citizen, an individual who is dealing with the state. It's a state versus, that is why it is the state that brings the case against the individual. And we're assuming or taking into consideration here that the state does have certain powers, and also has resources that an individual doesn't have. And that is why under the common law, the system is built in a way that it sorts of offsets that power imbalance. And that is why when the state brings a matter before the court, brings charges before an individual, automatically those rights of that individual automatically have to kick in, because we know that the state has the resources, the power, they can do whatever, and there would be no fairness if this were not put in place. So first things first, if we're following equality before the law and due process, procedurally, when Abdul Karim was arrested in Bamenda, he should have been kept there. And under the common law system, you cannot keep somebody for more than 24 hours without bringing them before a judge. If you
Right.
arrest somebody for a charge, you're supposed to either release them with some conditions that they have to abide by, or if you think that you cannot release them on conditions, then you have to bring them before a judge, and the state has to present a case for why this person should be held in custody up until their trial. Normally, people are released pending their trial. If you're going to be held, there has to be a justification. Now, there are certain offenses or certain scenarios where it becomes a reverse onus. That means you are arrested and you have to prove why you should be released. But those often occur when somebody is an entrenched criminal, has a criminal record or a history of committing certain offenses. So there is a procedure for getting there. But normally the procedure is you are arrested, you're brought before the court. If the police can release you on conditions, and then a judge determines the conditions of your release on that basis. And so just go back to Abdul Karim's case. He was arrested in Bamenda. He never made any appearance before any court or any judge, up until he was whisked away into the prison in Yaoundé, or to the military tribunal. So those are all violations. And to address your question again, every time Cameroon is given an opportunity, or circumstances present an opportunity where Cameroon can actually demonstrate to the world that it is in fact a law-abiding country, that it is in fact a country that treats citizens with dignity, that follows due process, that cares about fairness and equality, they use those opportunities to prove the opposite. So in this case, a clear case where they could have been showing the world that, look, we have an issue with these folks, we have disagreements, yes, we're fighting, but we're still treating them according to fairness, according to the rule of law, and we're still following due process. And I think that would give them, a little bit of a good image, even in the face of what we're dealing with Cameroon. But no, they squander these opportunities and actually double down to show that they are just a country of no laws, and that anything goes, and there is no due process.
What in your mind do you think that reading that statement from Abdul Karim, the international community will be saying? They have been very dormant, quiet for all this while about these cases in Yaoundé. What do you think? Do you think it is going to be appealing to them?
So there are a couple of things at play here. one, we're not getting a lot of the international press that our conflict deserves to get, right? And so, as a consequence, our prisoners of conscience, you can add refugees and IDPs, are not getting the press that then brings the resources that can help alleviate some of those problems. And that is the same with people like Abdul Karim. I think this is a good step that he's made. It is an attempt, I think, a righteous one, to bring more attention to their plight, and it will do so. I am not so sure the extent to which the international community can do things. There are possibilities of things that can be done, but I think it also boils down to how we organize around this. We need to organize and be able to create the platform so that other international actors who want to raise awareness about this issue, or perhaps even come in to represent some of these folks, are able to come in on that basis. For now, we are still trying to organize ourselves, but I think that's where we're going to have to go to be able to bring the pressure to bear.
Now, the implication of what Abdul Karim is asking for goes back to the other trials of Sissoko, Tassang Wilfred, and the rest. If La République should listen to his appeal and say, okay, let's take him to a common law jurisdiction, then it means La République is saying the case of Sissoko and the rest would have to be declared null and void and taken to a common law jurisdiction. Also, Chairman, Comrade Mas.
Comrade Chris, you're very right there. The only difference, the slight difference, is that Abdul Karim was picked up in Ambazonia. Ambazonia, we don't know whether I don't think Ambazonia has a treaty with La République.
No. Let's again. I'm playing the devil's advocate here. Cameroon says we are one and indivisible. However, I'm giving it to them.
Okay. Yes. Yes, you are one and indivisible. Yes.
Yeah. So
okay. If we go by that argument,
under two legal systems. So
if we go by that argument,
it should be to their advantage to acknowledge that we made a mistake by bringing these guys to Yaoundé. If we are a single country with a two-legal system, then Ambazonians, Southern Cameroonians, however they Anglophones, however they want to call it, they should be tried in their jurisdiction, either Bamenda or Boya.
Okay,
and if they want to bring the argument that Ambazonia has no treaty with La République du Cameroon as far as Sissoko and others are concerned. They were picked up in Nigeria, and where is Nigeria? Common law jurisdiction.
Okay, in that case, Comrade Chris, if we assume in quote that we are one and indivisible, which we're not, but let's just make that assumption. Abdul Karim was picked up in Bamenda, and his offenses or charges were relating to Bamenda. Sissoko and the rest were picked up in Nigeria. So they will have to go and try Sissoko and the rest under the legal system followed by Nigeria. And even if they were rightfully picked up from Nigeria and brought to Cameroon, did they have a treaty that they should be doing so? They don't. But the Abdul Karim's one, if they say we're one and indivisible, then they should take Abdul Karim to the jurisdiction where his charges were, which was in Bamenda. So whichever way, La République cannot win. They just have to apologize and say, well, we cocked up.
You see, Abdul Karim has raised a very important point here, which I believe people in the international community and the media will be watching so keenly, because this is a matter that is at the center of the current conflict. We are saying Cameroon annexed us and dealt away with our Anglo-Saxon legal and educational system. And so picking up our people and taking them to Yaoundé under Francophone civil law is exactly the battle we are fighting against. Comrade Ma, I see you know here. Go on there, make the point.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
no, you
Chefs,
go.
go on, please.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and that's why I say Cameroon has the tendency to put their foot in their mouth, right? This was a clear case where they could have stood up and said, "Yeah." I mean, even to the extent that they had the grand measure national dialogue, or however they called it, and claimed that there is some concept of bilingualism, and claimed that now they have provided special status. If we assume that all of these things were done in good faith as a effort to actually resolve the conflict and address the root causes, then correctly, what they would be doing due process, ensuring procedural fairness, which means Abdul Karim and all of our other comrades, prisoners of conscience who were abducted, as far as I'm concerned, from common law jurisdictions for whatever the offenses that are alleged against them, they should have been brought before those courts in those jurisdictions to have a hearing, and they should be afforded all of those due process rights and entitlements that follow. But they have not done any of that, right? Now, the other key quick point I want to point out is that, again, to show the gross violation of rights and the really breakdown or decay in the legal or judicial processes of that country, when these folks were picked up, again, like I said, they had to be brought before a court within 24 hours if the government's consideration was that they didn't want them released. That did not happen. Secondly, they were brought on their first appearances before military tribunals. Now, under the common law system, civilians ought to be tried before civilian courts, not military courts. Now, there are exceptions where certain things may come into play to warrant such considerations, but by and large, it is tried law that if you're a civilian, you're tried before a civilian court. So the fact that these folks were, first of all, made to appear before a military tribunal, and even if subsequently they were made now to appear or their case was scheduled before, a civilian magistrate, that is another gross violation of their rights. And so that is, again, why these folks need to be brought and tried under the common law system so that they can be afforded all the protections that they deserve.
If I may read a passage here that Abdul Karim has written, this is not just about common law versus civil law in all that he has written. It is also about an effort at denying La République du Cameroun any form of legitimacy over Ambazonia. This is what he writes, and I quote, participation in the La République du Cameroun's legal proceedings inadvertently validate the La République du Cameroun's assertions of sovereignty over the southern Cameroon's state, thus perpetuating a narrative that contradicts the principles of self-determination and establish norms of international law. So Abdul Karim is essentially saying, allowing us to be tried in La République du Cameroun. Forget about a military trial. Forget about a civil trial or civil law trial in La République du Cameroun. You allow Cameroon as an entity to try Ambazonians in that country. You are essentially acknowledging the sovereignty of La République du Cameroun over the southern Cameroons. That is the argument that he is making. So, Chairman Mas, A lot of people to Cameroon will not be ready to accept this argument, right? Because it is a defeatist argument for them, essentially saying, well, uh, Ambazonia is an independent state. If they should accept it.
Well, thank you for that. The thing there, Comrade Chris, is that it's not up to up to La Republique. I think Abdul Karim is sending a message to other prisoners of conscience that, look, it doesn't matter what the verdict will be, whether they even release you. If you appear in their courts, you're giving them, you're saying you are their citizen. The only way that La Republique can take Abdul Karim to court is to first of all say he is a foreign citizen, but he's committed a crime against them, and therefore they want to try him, just like America can try a foreign citizen in their court, following proper law, proper rules. So Abdul Karim is saying to the other prison, it's a subtle message he's sending to other prisoners.
It's not even a subtle message. He made it very clear. He made it very clear that other prisoners should take up this stance.
Yeah, but that message is not directly to the international community. It's to his fellow prisoners that we should take that stand, and any Ambazonia should know that if you're taken to any La Republique court, do not cooperate, because if better they kill you, you die in Ambazonia, or if you cooperate, you are basically saying to La Republique, you are your citizen, do as you wish. That's what he's saying.
Right. So the question becomes, how does he get to, or how do they get him to jail? If he refuses, of course, he will say, I am not going to your court. I am not going to be there. So the question becomes, how does he, are they going to bundle him there and tie his legs and hands and bundle him to that courtroom or what? Or what do you see?
Well, the thing there is, being as his civil rights or his rights, if he can choose not to go to the court, but if a lot of people want to tie him and bring to court and he still doesn't cooperate, he didn't go to court. Even if they tie him and bring there, he did not go. They bundle him to the court, but he did not go to the court. The issue there is him willingly going to the court. He did not go to the court.
That's a very good point. Yes. Chefs, go on, please.
Yes. So Abdul Karim, comrade, is doing three things. As Chairman Ma said, one, he's sending a message to his fellow prisoners that we need to take a stand, and a very decisive stand. Secondly, he is raising the stakes by saying that, look, I am not your citizen, and so I'm not going to be tried in your courts. First of all, you haven't followed due process. Even if you wanted to try me, as Chairman Ma said, as a foreign citizen, there are certain processes that would be followed. Now, thirdly, I think what he's doing is a form of, and this is the biggest one, it's the form of non-violent civil disobedience. And that is the big message to the international community, because how would it look on the video cameras, and I presume that in civil court, and that's the other thing, in common law jurisdictions, we have certain matters are allowed to have cameras in the court to be able to televise, because the public is allowed to be in the court. In common law jurisdictions, the public can attend and watch proceedings, not so much in civil jurisdictions. So how are they going to bring him to court? Are they going to subject him to further dehumanization, like Chairman Mas was suggesting? Are they going to tie him up and force him to court? That is the image that he wants the world to see La Republique doing, that civil disobedience. Now, are they going to just render a judgment without his participation? Again, that is not due process for a country that says they abide by the rule of law, in quotes. That, again, is not going to stand. And so I think this defiance is very, very crucial and key, because that civil disobedience greater than any other thing highlights our plight.
I think so, and I am also thinking that even those who have been tried and sentenced by the military tribunal, they should rethink it and join forces with Abdul Karim and the rest of the other detainees in those jails. Stand up and declare going forward. This is for those who have not been tried yet, and stand up and resolve with Abdul Karim going forward. We are not going to any court, forget about military tribunal, any court in that matter anywhere inside La République du Cameroon. I think they should all have this resolve, and I hope that some of them are listening to me from within the confines of that Condengate thing. They should join forces and let the world hear that Ambazonian detainees, prisoners of conscience in Condengate and everywhere in Yaoundé have refused to go to court. If they like, let them tie them up and tie their legs and take them to court. And let the world see the kind of justice that that country exercises.
Yes. If I could just jump in quickly, Chris, the other fundamental aspect of this is that in the common law, you are afforded to be tried before a jury of your peers. Now that's a dynamic system. Why?
Well, a lot of people will not go near there because then they lose. They know they lose everything.
Exactly.
Everything.
Exactly. So they should constitute a jury of his peers to determine whether what they are accusing him of doing is in fact what he did. And
I don't even know I'm not even aware whether a lot of people understand that terminology, jury of his peers. Jury of his peers. So if you say that, they will say, so you want his friends to be
his friends?
You want Amazonians to be
Yeah, so basically La République, they are in a fix. And the stand that Abdul Karim has highlighted here is basically defiance. Defiance without being violent. You can kill me, you can break my bones, you can beat me, I'm not going to cooperate. That's what he's saying.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So
I'm not going to cooperate with you because I'm not your subject. I'm not your subject. Take me to the right place and let's talk.
Right. Chubbs, you are over there in Canada, and the Canadians look to themselves as respecter or custodians. I mean, when you talk about common law, you're essentially talking about England being the custodian, and then you talk about Canada, the USA. What do you think will be going on in the minds of the diplomatic community, especially the Canadians, hearing this?
Well, I just think from a logical perspective, I think what me and Chairman Mars are saying is what they will be thinking. This is defiance. This is non-violent civil disobedience or resistance. These are the things that Gandhi and them became very famous for doing. Martin Luther King, and that is one of the key aspects of this struggle that we need to exploit more. We need to look at, we have the Country Sundays, we have some other things, but we need to think critically about how we can fashion mechanisms where our people can show their defiance without putting themselves in danger, without putting themselves in the places where they can be shot, and without putting themselves or their securities of their families at risk. There are many creative ways. And so you see Abdul Karim, he is in the dungeon of the lion right there, and he's found a credible, recognizable way to be defiant, to project that civil disobedience. And I think it's one that will be appreciated within the international sphere because they understand that language. He doesn't need to say anything. They understand exactly what he's doing. And I think this is an issue that should trouble La Republique greatly. They should be really, really worried about this issue because, yet again, it does not only highlight the plight of those prisoners, again, it highlights the reason why this conflict is where it is. The fact that people were subjugated, assimilated, and their state was subjugated by another state, and now its citizens are not even afforded due process, in spite of the government claiming that they have afforded us some type of special status. Where is the specialness in the status if our citizens are still being tried in jurisdictions that they don't understand, or in proceedings that they are not familiar with? Where is the specialness in the status, right? So La Republique, again, is just demonstrating that they cannot be trusted, they have no good faith, and that this is a matter that, as we have rightly said, ought to be resolved with a third party, not just with La Republique on their own.
Right. I'd like you to take a look at these two images. This is Abdul Karim when the first time he was picked up and released. Look at him. That was how he was before he was incarcerated the second time that he is there. Now, if you look at this other picture, this is the way Abdul Karim has depreciated. This is the depreciation that has become of him. When you look at images like this, you think that La Republique, it will be in a place to say, you know what, let's quickly, let's free these people, let them go back to their lives. These are people with families, with children. No, they drag it on and drag it on. He has been behind bars for almost 2 years now, and not a single trial has taken place. Yet these guys, they remain defiant, very, very defiant. But you come outside, I'm talking about those of us in the diaspora who are free people. People who are in jail are saying, we are going to persevere till we get Amazonia, in spite of what they go through. But outside, you see people trying to say, let's cut and run, let's cut and run. What do you make of these two scenarios here? Let me start with you, Comrade Marx.
Okay, thank you. Comrade Chris, you may say Abdul Karim has depreciated. Yes, in the physical he might have, but I think in his way of thinking and his mindset, he's matured, he's grown wiser, because Abdul Karim, what Abdul Karim wrote in that his document, that is a 2-page document, he wouldn't have written that 2 years ago, 3 years ago. No, he was more. It was still, there was still a lot of youthfulness in his mind and thinking. Now he's grown wise to be able to take on that.
Are you saying that Kondenge has made him wiser?
Well, for him to come up with that letter, the way he's written it, and the message in there, the way he's buried the message in there for people to see and understand, La Republique would not have expected that. He is giving them a very, very, we call it a low blow. He's giving them a low blow, but they don't know yet. They're about to find out. He's giving them a low blow. But that aside, the people who are outside, because they're carrying on with their lives, and some want to do business in Amazonia, or some have businesses there, and which are being, and some in La Republique, and they don't want, they want their businesses to carry on. They feel that the war is a menace to their business or to their businesses, so that's why they want the war to stop. But they don't know that Amazonia is bigger than an individual. People have laid down their lives for this nation. And there was a day, there was a time, if we remember the famous Weber,
Yeah.
He said, let's go back to federation. And Francophones, La République were saying the word federation was a taboo word. And he reminded them, he said, today Ambazonians are talking about, Southern Cameroonians are talking about federation, and you're saying it's a taboo word. There will come a day that you will be begging for federation, and Ambazonians will tell you it's a taboo word. They thought he was joking, but he actually meant it, and it's come to pass. If, when this crisis started, La République had said, look, okay, we made a mistake in the past, no more assimilation, we're going back to how we used to be in 1960, 1961, 1962, all along, we would have, I don't think anyone would not have had any bloodshed. It's just that the blood has been spilled to the level that federation doesn't compensate for that blood anymore. Again, it's La République putting their leg in their mouth because they don't even know when to do what.
Absolutely. Comrade Chef, please, what's your take there?
Yeah, I think Chairman Mas is right. I think he's grown wise, certainly matured, and I think that you have to have a very strong mindset to be able to stay and survive prison, but not just any kind of prison. The type of dungeons that we have, it's not a prison where, because even prisoners have rights. Prisoners have rights that are not being respected in Cameroon, and that the conditions of their imprisonment is way, 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 way below par. It's very inadequate. It's not the conditions that you would expect prisoners to be in. So, for all of that, and for all the things that they are dealing with, and for all the worries and concerns that they have about their loved ones who are outside, not knowing how they are faring, I think that he has grown in strength, in wisdom, and in understanding. And I think that the prison affords you some time to be able to reflect quite a bit. And I think he's taking advantage of that to reflect and to write these powerful words that he's saying. Now, just to touch quickly on the people who are outside, part of the challenge we have in a liberation struggle, especially like us, where we do not have a country that is backing us, or we did not have, we did not come from the point where we were in charge of our own affairs and then decided to begin this journey. So we would have had certain resources in terms of giving us some advantage. It's quite challenging. So yes, there are a lot of people who have given up on the struggle. There are a lot of people who are fed up, frankly, because of the way the struggle has been prosecuted. There are a lot of people who have been shamed out, and yet there are a lot of people who didn't join because they didn't see it as anything worth fighting for, and there are a lot of people who are sitting on the fence. So you have different reactions from all of these categories of people. But I think the folks, the few that are very committed to the core, whether they are incarcerated or not, I think they are making their best efforts to, contribute and to do whatever they can to support this struggle. But I think you're right, because when you look around, just do a scan, sometimes you feel demoralized. You think like, what's going on? You don't see it. But I think when you're connected to the core and you are involved really in the struggle, then you really see the sacrifices that people are making, and it is just overwhelming. And even though it still is inadequate to at this stage get us to where we need to be. At the top of the hour of your show, you were making you were calling for support. You were making a request to Ambazonians. So I think we need to continue to do that. We need to organize ourselves well so that we can then provide the platform, or at least create the space for the people who are not as strong in the mind to do some of the things that the few core are doing, to give them the opportunity to also give in their best.
Absolutely. Let me get over to the phone lines. I like to know what Ambazonians are thinking, listening to it, and reading what Abdul Karim has put out there. I like to hear from you. I like to know what you think. I like to know what message you would like to pass to Abdul Karim. I have no doubt it certainly must be watching this show. And so we are going to open the phone lines and have you call in to give us your take on this discussion. You have the phone number out there. Go ahead and call. Let us know what you are thinking in your mind. Before you call, make sure that you turn down the volume of your set. Make sure you turn down the volume of your set before you go ahead and call. The number is there on your screen. And while we wait for the calls, Comrade Mars, let me come back to you. Abdul Karim has not been tried yet. We don't even know when he is going to be tried. But with his defiance behind bars, how about the other detainees who are in prisons in Boya, in Bamenda, in other locations inside Ambazonia with civil law judges or even common law judges? What would you say should be their strategy? The same thing, you cannot judge us under civil law. What if they are being judged under common law?
Comrade Chris,
Yes,
can
sir.
you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yes, the thing there is, if they're being judged under common law, if they say they want to judge him under common law, they have to follow due process as it's been outlined. There will be something called a due process, and if that due process is followed properly, then yes, they should go and remember, in common law, you are innocent until proven guilty. As long as they follow things like that, whom the burden of proof is on. It's not on you, the accused, it's on the accuser. In common law, you don't even need to prove anything. You just need to, the only time you need to defend is if you think the case might sway against you. Otherwise, you just need to come and sit there. It's down to the state or the person accusing you to prove beyond reasonable doubt that you're guilty. You don't need to really prove anything. You're accused of something. Is down to the person to prove that beyond. There is something called beyond reasonable doubt. You need to prove beyond reasonable doubt that yes, this person is guilty of the charges you've levied against them. So, any Ambazonia being tried in a civil court, and due process being followed, do not be afraid. But will La Republic ever do that? The answer is no, because they know that if they follow due process, they will not win any case.
All right. I see Chaps is nodding his head. What do you have to add to that, sir?
Yeah, no, I think he's right. Not a lot. The burden of proof, and that is the beauty with the common law system, and that's why I think we love it so much. There are protections that are built into it. That the burden of proof, the Crown, the prosecutor, the state needs to prove its case, and if they can't prove their case, then there's no case to be had. You don't need to say anything. That's why there is a right to silence in certain common law countries in their Charter of Rights and Freedoms. You don't have to say anything even to a police officer. If they take you into investigative custody and they are asking you questions, you have the right to remain silent. You can remain silent. You don't need to say anything. So those are all the procedural protections or rights that are afforded. And I think every Amazonian prisoner of conscience should follow suit with Abdul Karim. If you are forced to go to the court, I think the only thing, if you are told, say anything, is that I am not subject to the jurisdiction of this court. And so before I participate in any proceedings, I would like to be in a court where I am subject to their jurisdiction. And that is it. So I think that would be a powerful message to convey. And so then it puts La Republic in a position where they have to continue with the arbitrary detention and also with the arbitrary processes, which are further evidence of the fact that there is no rule of law and that Cameroon is not prepared to resolve this matter at the root causes.
Well, that is where articulated comrade. They are all in the position where you go to court, you die. You stay in prison, you die. So what's the need, right?
Correct.
Whatever. In the absence of any cause, we are going to call it a night. I see somebody writing, we can't even watch your program because of no energy for a very long time in parts of Victoria. I guess it's like that in many places on Ground Zero. Another person is writing, good evening, Comrade Chris. I'm following up the news. The news talk with keen interest. La Republique is kidding over Karim. All right, that is from somebody on the ground. So in the absence of any calls, I want to thank you for being on board this broadcast, and you guys all have a happy Easter weekend, sirs.
Same to you, Comrade Chris. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right. Comrade Chaps, enjoy Canada. All right, take care.
Okay, Comrade Mas. Bye-bye.
All right. Okay, all right.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for joining the show, ladies and gentlemen. We will call it the night here. I want to believe that by Monday I will be back, and hope that everyone will be able to join. But thank you for being part of tonight. Please, you have a great night and a great and happy Easter weekend. God bless you all.